All right, this is David, the Georgia photographer, and tonight I want to come to you live with no warning and do a live stream because there is a camera that is floating around on the interwebs, and it is the Nikon Zf. And I'm gonna pause that. Well, no, there, I'll just mute it. That way I can see the chat. Oh, I have the chat here. Dude, this is pretty awesome. Let me get a note here. There. Now there's a note. Let's see how that works. Yep, there we go. Now we're online. I just checked my stream and it's working great. Good. Now, what have I done here? Can I get this loose? Yes. Now I just got to compress it over to there. No. This chat window does bizarre things in OBS. If you move it up too high, it changes the whole thing. Maybe if I move it up here, there we go. Now I can see the chat window. Well, I could. Now I can't. Let me get it back up here on top. There we go. Pull it down. All right, let's do this. Bam. Let's close that. Let's put this here. All right. Okay, now that we've got the chat going. Hey, Hassan's in the house. How you doing, Hassan? Yeah, I'm leaving it in the box. After I got that 65mm out and seen how beautifully pristine it was, I'm not even going to unbox this one until I'm ready to work with it. But I've been storing it so you'll understand. It's in my camera bag, in a Ziploc bag, so it won't get dust on it. This has to be the cleanest used lens I have ever laid my eyes on. Well done on maintenance. My hat goes off to you. So yeah, I'm storing it in a Ziploc bag so it won't get dust on it while it's in the camera bag being tested. I'm working on that video right now in the background. But let's see who else is here. The Bass Angler is here. How you doing? And Martin Castine. Man, you're up late. It's got to be like 1 o'clock in the morning in your world. Wow, that's awesome. Let me move this chat window over this way and get it here. Oh no, there's what I need to do. There's Grant. How you doing, Grant? Yeah. I'm making sure that thing stays as clean as absolutely possible, dude. I tell you what, we're going to talk about that for just a minute. Full review coming, I'll be honest with you. Hassan was gracious enough to loan me a couple of his Sigma L mount lenses. This is the 65mm. This lens has literally impressed me. I'll be honest with you, for the longest I held very low regard for Tamron and Sigma lenses. And it was because I had a bad experience with a Sigma lens about 10 or 12 years ago. I bought that 150 to 500. It was before the 600 came out. And I tried to shoot with it and it just wasn't sharp. And it gave me a sense of like second-rate glass. So I got rid of it, got the Nikon 200 to 500, which took stunning photos. And I learned later that Sigma got their stuff together. This lens is shockingly good. Like, it blew my mind. The first couple of test photos I took with it were laser sharp. Yeah, this lens is a winner. And yeah, review to come. But yeah, even like the installation of the lens hood. Listen to this. It's even like pro grade good. Even something as simple as the latch on the lens hood impressed me. Yeah, I was blown away. Thank you, Hassan, for sharing this with me and showing me the light. because honestly, I would have never actually ordered one had you not done that. And now you got me looking at them. But yeah, his lenses are so clean that when I got it out, I honestly thought it was brand new. But he's been using it, so I'm storing it in a Ziploc bag so it doesn't get dust on it while I'm out in the field with it, taking street photos and such, you know, in transport. But yeah. But yeah, that blew my mind how nice that lens was and how well it worked. The autofocus on it is shocking. It's fast. It does a little bit of back and forthing, but I'm not so sure that ain't part of the SL2 as well. It doesn't do it with Leica glass, so I don't know if it's because it's working with a stepper motor or what, but it's still quick. But you can see it move past it and back. It's like it goes out and in and out, and then it lands, and it's like and then it nails it, and it's like laser on. But it happens so quick, you can just catch the glimpse of it happening. It's really impressive. I will like the 90 if I like the 65. Awesome. Oh look. It is 1 a.m. Been out shooting for a while. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about some stuff tonight that is getting me out and about and getting me moving again in photography. I'm coming out of hibernation, and we'll say that. Yeah, let's see here. Birds in flight, older gear. Okay, I'm kind of like Jared Poland. I've got notes, so I don't forget stuff. But Gary Arbuckle, hey, how you doing tonight? Thank you for stopping in, dude. That's awesome. But oh, it doesn't give me choices. Okay. The autofocus on the S5 II is great. Yeah. I'm starting to understand that Panasonic has it figured out, and so does Sigma. I'll be honest with you, I didn't have high faith in them. They come out of the gate swinging, and they've brought their A game, and it shows. It's incredibly good. Now let's see here. There we go. Okay, I just want to go through some mental notes that I've made here about things. I'm going to do a little bit of a history lesson, and most of y'all probably know it, but for the people that might be listening while they drive around and things like that, I'm going to go ahead and voice it so that they can hear it too. But Nikon's rumor mill is that they're coming out with a ZF, which in layman's terms means it's a retro-styled mirrorless camera. And they've already done it once with the Zfc, but before the Zfc, they had already done it. And it was, let me see here. It was with there we go, the Nikon, let me just show you, DF. And this is Nikon's official website. They still have it on there. You can actually still buy the DF. I didn't know that. I thought they discontinued it. Let me see what happens when you click buy. What do they do? It is $2,750, and you can buy a brand new Nikon DF. I didn't even know you could do that. Let's stop that. But, oh, it's out of stock. Never mind. What about the black one? Is the black one in stock? No, they're out of stock. Okay, let's go back. But this camera was a full frame DSLR. I'll spare y'all the dialogue, but it's a full frame DSLR, but it was retro styled and had all of the external knobs on it. Now I'm going to show you something that's pretty interesting. Let me just start a new tab here. Pull up Fuji X-T3. Yeah, let's just click on this picture here. This is Amazon's listing for it. There you go. Now, let's jump back over to the DF. Notice the knobs. Notice how similar the knob placement is. You have stacked knobs here and here, and you have this is a stack knob. These are locking like the XT3 has. If you'll notice, this one here and this one here are locking knobs as well, so that they don't so you don't bump them and change the. I think that shutter speed and ISO is what them two do, but this one doesn't have a front control wheel here. Now this, I'm not sure, that knob may be what it is instead. And I'm pretty sure the shutter's in that, and that's probably an exposure compensation. I haven't checked. But you can just look at the XT3 and say there's a shutter and the exposure compensation. And you can kind of see where they drew their inspiration from. Very similar designs, except this one is APS-C, of course, and this one is FX, which is full frame. Nikon tried the retro thing. Problem was, it was ahead of its time. When you have a camera that looks like a film camera in the literal peak of the DSLR period, at this point in the DSLR period, this is, I think, 2013 when this one dropped, you had some of the best DSLRs ever made being released. And everybody was into the DSLR game at this point. Now, of course, it is F-mount. But nobody wanted to go back to film-style cameras. They wanted the functions with the thumb wheels, and you push a button and it maps this wheel to do that and this and that. And you didn't have to look. You didn't have to lower the camera to look at the knobs to make adjustments. You could look through the viewfinder and to control the front and rear thumb wheels and actually get the adjustments that you needed while shooting. And people loved that. And they didn't buy this camera. It flopped. Mainly, I say it flopped. It's still on the website for sale. But nobody bought these cameras, okay? They sold a few. Everybody knows they sold a few. But they did. It tanked. But because I think they were about 10 years too soon. I'm going to jump back to me now. And I think Fuji saw that the market, they started with the XT1, which is physically they look the same. They're very slight differences from the XT1 through the XT3. The XT4 and 5 were pretty strong deviations from that plan, but the 1, 2, and 3 followed that design format pretty closely. And they started building steam in the reportage, the street photography, and documentary / lifestyle, people going on vacations, things like that, and wanting a camera to have around the house to take pictures, because they were targeting, just to be honest, the Gen X generation with them. So that, because that's the kind of people that were used to using those cameras, and millennials, because millennials kind of like retro stuff too. If you'll notice, a lot of millennials will have retro styled, or they'll have legit vintage stuff from the 80s and 90s because they just like it. It's just something they enjoy. And so they started building a following in street photography primarily with the XT1 and with the XT2. And then when they got to the XT3, they hit a home run with that camera. I mean, everybody in 2017 had an XT3, and it was also the peak of the YouTube influencer period. So literally every YouTube influencer in the photography space had an XT3, and it just drove sales like mad. And Fuji sold a bajillion of them cameras. It just was crazy how many of them cameras they sold. Phil Thatch is in the house. Well, how you doing, Phil? You need an L-mount APS-C 18 to 50 Sigma 2.8. Yeah, somebody, Phil, has been telling me to do that for a while now. Charles Davis, how you doing? Thank you for stopping in. I got to check, make sure I ain't missed somebody here in a few minutes. You guys are chatting it up pretty good. ZF will be video only. Oh, don't do that to me, Martin. Be like a C200 Canon. But I really believe at that point, that's when all of the camera makers realized that the retro camera styling was coming back. Even Leica got on board with it, and they started, really pushing their, rangefinder, the M series. They really started pushing that M series. And here recently, last year, I think it was, they even discontinued their APS-C line. They don't make the CL anymore, like my little CL up there. They don't even, they quit making it. And it's because Fuji dominates the APS-C space. Nikon launches the Zfc, a wonderful little camera. Let me pull this up. I want you to see something here. Let's see here. Let me see if I can get it to come up. But the camera was incredible. I didn't put it in right. Oh well. We'll just do it this way. And what? Oh, there we go. Let me just pop this out. It's loading. You have to be patient. There we go. That'll do. Yeah. All right. I'm going to jump back over to this screen and show you. Here's a Zfc. Now, as you'll see with the Zfc, you have lockable knobs. This one's double function, lockable shutter with power switch, exposure comp, front wheel, and I assume if you went to the back, you'd have the back wheel, just like the X-T3. Look how similar those two cameras are. This one doesn't have the thumb bump on the front. It's more rangefinder-esque in the feel. They claim they modeled it after the Nikon FM2 film camera. And if you look at the FM2, it looks a lot like this. So I believe that because it has the way the beveled corners on the casing and such. But this camera, tell me you don't see that the Zfc was a shot across the bow to Fujifilm to take some of that street photography market. They even come out with a retro 28mm lens to go with it because people were wanting it. They're getting into it and they're liking it. But yeah, these cameras are so similar. It's crazy. You know, and I really think they were testing the waters with the Zfc. Scott Patterson says, the Zfc feels so cheap. I messed around with Phil's one day for a little while. Me and him linked up when he still had his, and we went shooting together. And I messed with it a little bit, and it felt fine to me. It felt like the X-T3. It really did. I mean, the X-T3 is a little heavier. The Zfc is lighter. That's what I did notice. It's a significantly lighter camera than the X-T3. Oh. Thanks for letting him know. Oh, wow. I can't even pronounce this name. I'm sorry. Terry Wagner. Thank you for dropping by tonight. Let's see here. Thought I'd take a peek and see what's going on. Just subscribe. Awesome. You rock on the highest order. Hey, yeah. If y'all haven't done it yet, hit the like button. And I appreciate it. Now Fuji seems to change the route. They're awkwardly splitting their lineups, making, at least me, uncomfortable in the niches they now offer. It's nice time for Nikon and bring back all the good times. I see where you're going with that. Is that they're really leaning, what he's talking about is Fuji is starting to lean real heavily into the rangefinder layout with the viewfinder over in the corner cameras. And they have, like, they're starting to make the XTs look like the XHs, and so you know I see where he's going with that, and it makes sense. It's like there's just so many Fuji models. When you have so many, you start getting what do they call that? Where the executive dysfunction. You can't make the decision of which one to pick because there's too many to pick from, and you're afraid you'll pick wrong. Whatever that term is. Yeah, I agree. They have way too many models. You know, I understand trying to make tiered steps so that, you know, the buying public, whatever they can afford, they can pick something, but you don't have to make it every $50. You know, they've got a lot of choices though. Let's see. But once the Zfc come out, I think Nikon had a real good run with that camera. I'm pretty sure they sold really, really well, even though, you know, like, who was it said? Scott said, you know, like if it feels cheap. And I really only think it feels cheap was because it was so light. At least to me it was. It wasn't like flexy or anything. It felt good in the hand. To me, it just didn't feel like it weighed anything. It could have stood a bigger battery. You know, they can always have bigger batteries in my book though. but yeah. Let's see here. Phil saying rumors have the ZF with a stacked Z89 sensor, but I highly doubt that. I think it'll be a retro style Z6 too, like the ZFC is a retro style Z50. Yeah, and that's where I think it'll go too. And with that, what I want to do is jump into some of the features that I personally would like to see in this camera. I would like to see IBIS. Okay. The ZFC didn't have IBIS. Correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, but I'm pretty sure it lacked IBIS. And that was the big downfall with my XT3, was it didn't have IBIS. And I really wanted that. And when I realized that the XH1 at the time, I believe, had it, I really kind of had buyer's remorse and wanted the XH1 because of the IBIS. Because that was one of the reasons for getting the XT camera was street photography. And I started shooting more and more in low light. And IBIS is a big help in low light. The next thing I would like is a 24 megapixel backside illuminated. If it's stacked, that's great, whatever, but I would like to see good low light ISO performance. And I think with 24 megapixels, the photosites are big enough that you'll be able to gather enough light that you should be able to run 12 or 24,000 ISO and not have excessive ISO noise. The technology's there. I mean, Leica's running those monochrome sensors at 50 and 100,000 ISO by just pulling that bare sensor array off. And that only, I think it chokes it back 4 stops of light. So, you know, you go from 100 to 50 to 25 to 12. So it's a 12,000 ISO color camera. So if they can do it, I know Nikon can. Let's see. I was at UTC softball working with the ZFC. Another photographer thought I was using a film. Yeah, because it has the look. It's a retro camera. Yeah. He thought you were shooting film. Hassan says the new rumor is a 25 megapixel sensor with upcoming Z6 III autofocus tech. Honestly, the autofocus in the Z6 II, I seen Ray Soldano's Z6 II in action. The autofocus in the Z6 II was crazy good. So if it has the autofocus engine out of the Z6 Mark II, it'll be a winner. That camera worked super well for him, and he was running a Tamron lens on it at the time. Adapted. Yeah, it was his F mount Tamron with the ZF, it was an FTZ adapter, and he couldn't miss focus. That thing worked beautifully. So yeah, there was no IBIS in the ZFC. Yeah, that was the main reason I didn't get one of them. You know, I looked at them, and I really liked that little 28 millimeter retro lens they come out with. I thought that'd be epic, but it didn't have IBIS, and I already have a crop sensor camera with no IBIS. I was like, eh. The next thing I would like to see is obviously full frame. The next thing, we'll skip that because we didn't talk sensors to death. Next thing I'd like to see on it is a tilting screen. I'm not so worried about the flippy screen as Camera Conspiracy says it, you know, flips out to the side. I don't need that so much as I want it to tilt up full 90 degrees and tilt down. I would prefer full 90 degrees. And that's so I can do waist level shooting, because there's times when that perspective is nice, and now that I'm 54, I don't like having to like squat down and then stand up. The less I do that, the better I like it. So I would really like to see a flipping screen, and having to flip it out to the side to be able to do that is a little bit of counterproductive. If you want to keep the footprint of the camera small and do waist level shooting, I mean, it works, but I would just prefer like the XT3 style flip up and flip down screen. That worked really well on the XT3. I like that feature. I would like to see it to be weather resistant. Because I shoot in the rain, y'all. If y'all looked at any of my Instagrams, you can tell I get out in the weather. I take the SL2 because it's weather resistant. It and that 50 prime and that 24 to 90 are all weather resistant lenses and camera body. And yeah, I'll get out in the rain and shoot. So it would be nice if it was weather resistant, as well as the lenses for it. Now, of course, it'll be a Z mount, so all the Z mount primes and zooms will fit it. But I would like to see a few retro lenses like the 28, the 35, and the 50, because, you know, they're going to be targeting the street photography crowd, so you're going to want street photography-esque lenses to go with it. And I think homage lenses in those three focal lengths, if you did the 28 2.8, the 35 2.8, and the 50 f2 or 1.8, whatever they, you know, you could do a 35 f2 pretty easily. But, you know, if you just did them in 2.8 and do the 50 as the nifty 50, because we already have that one, they have that tech, they just got to put it in the casing to make it look old. Man, people would buy that and they would just run out the door. I would like to see it have a high resolution electronic viewfinder. I am an EVF guy. I love a good EVF. I have gotten rid of all of my optical viewfinder cameras because I love the quality EVFs. The Leicas have wonderful EVFs. The little Z50 has a good one. And once I got accustomed to using one, I prefer it. I just do. I'm one of those guys that likes the EVF. The next thing is I would like for it to have the design of the Z8 and Z9 and be shutterless. I don't want it to have a mechanical shutter. Number one, you eliminate shutter shock. So you have, you know, you can, in low ISO or low light environments, you're going to get less shutter shock induced motion blur in your photos. Since I won't want to shoot in low light, and these are the features I would like to see, I would like for it to be the mirror or the shutterless design. And I'm pretty sure it will be, because if Nikon can build the camera without the shutter, it's cheaper for them to build it. And for them, that makes monetary sense. And it'll also be cheaper for them to sell it on the market, and it'll be easier for them to do so. I'm going to look through the notes here and make sure I ain't missed something. If you think you're 25 years old, Dave, you feel 25. Yeah, some days I feel that broken ankle. Some days I don't. Some days I do. Especially in the winter. In the winter, it rears its ugly head now. Yeah. Are you getting one if they fill your wish list, Dave? Absolutely. I have already made the decision that if it ain't ludicrously expensive, and if it has 3/4 of this wish list on it, I'll probably get. If it has certain critical items, it's got to have IBIS, and it's got to have the tilting screen. I would like to see weather resistant. It might not come weather resistant, but I would like to see it weather sealed. That would be nice. But if it had those three things, I will probably jump, because I would like to see one, because then I would have 2 Nikon cameras again. I'm down to the Z50. But yeah, and I like that. I really enjoyed the XT3. You know that, because I had it for so long while we were shooting together that I took that thing everywhere, and I loved that camera. But the ISO on it just kind of fell apart above about 3200. I mean, you could shoot 6400, but it was kind of noisy. It just wasn't great past that. And shooting with slow, you know, shooting stop down, it would do fine. But, you know, once you started getting into slow shutter speeds, I started having to like brace it against walls and things, because it was just hard to shoot without IBIS. The SL2 solves all of that. It's just the SL2's heavy. Yeah, that's another thing. The next thing on the list is I would like for it to have a common battery. You know, if you look up the DF, it didn't have a standard Nikon battery. It had a different battery because of the size of the camera body. And I would like to see the same battery, the EN-AL15 that they use in the Z6 and Z7, maybe even the Z8. I would like to see it use that battery. That way common batteries fit it. And then, of course, I mentioned the few primes. But yeah, if it has if it has those features, I'll absolutely get one of them. I'm already looking forward to it. All right, I'm catching up on the chat. Question: if this ZF is really good and performs well, small, light, and fair price, what happens to Fuji? Fuji has to up their game and figure out how to be competitive. I really don't think that they'll take much away from the Fuji crowd with it. They'll pull a little market, but Fuji's pretty entrenched with their crop sensor small cameras, and this will be a bigger camera, and it'll take a unique lens, so the Fuji crowd won't jump ship so easily. I really think what'll happen there is a bunch of your current Z Nikon owners will pick this camera up, and they'll just use their Z lenses on it, and they'll take the hit on the nostalgia so they can use their Z glass. I just really believe that's what's going to happen there. Now, as far as directly competing, I think the one that'll actually have the biggest to worry about, honestly, will be Leica. And the reason I say that is Leica cameras used to be really crazy expensive, and now they're just a little bit more expensive. I mean, the Z8 is what, $4,000? The SL2 is $6,500. I mean, that price differential is starting to close. You're starting to see Nikon and Canon cameras that are getting really, really close to Leicas. And of course, some of them are just it's a barrier to entry to the ecosystem on purpose. I'm pretty sure that the M11 doesn't need to cost $9,000, but their marketing is on point and they know what they're doing. So that's a different ballgame altogether. I think they have actually carved out a user group so cleanly that the other camera companies don't even try to break into it because they know they can't. As far as that segment goes, but like the people like me that shoot the SL2, which is just a mirrorless IBIS camera, it's just a standard camera. It really is. It's a Panasonic inside. We all know that the guts are made by Panasonic. Let's be fair here. It's just that the microprocessor is supposedly made by or designed by Leica, and the software is Leica software. That's the real difference. But at the end of the day, that's the market that I think Nikon's going to be attacking, is the mirrorless Leica market, because they're full frame, and possibly some of the Fujifilm market. But you're going to see a bunch of Nikon shooters will pick it up and start shooting street because the camera is cool. They've been waiting on this camera forever. That's what I honestly feel like. Let's see. Hassan says he missed having IBIS in his ZFC. Yeah. Let's see. I think you'll get everything you want except shutterless. The stack sensor required for that is too expensive, in his opinion. Backside illumination, yes. Stack, no. Yeah, I know a stack CMOS sensor is significantly better, but it's not a deal breaker. But I would hope that it's shutterless like the Z8. That it looked to me like it wouldn't be that hard to do. But maybe it is. I know that the stack sensor is twice as heavy because it's two sensors stacked up. Hassan says he had a shutterless A7C and a Sigma FP, both nice cameras, but Phil is correct. Shutterless requires more processing power to really shine. That's all right. That's good to know. I mean, you can always run electronic shutter with the shutter-fired cameras, but it would just make the reason I want it to be shutterless is because I found with like handling Ray's Z9, the camera is so much smaller. When you remove that shutter mechanism out of the camera, you can make the camera significantly smaller. And that's what I noticed, and that's what I liked about it, is how much thinner it was. When you see the Z9 compared to like the D5, it looks like it's little brother. You know, it's a flagship camera, but they were able to compress it pretty significantly once they got rid of the shutter. That was pretty incredible. But you're probably right, Phil. And they can get good performance out of shutter-fired cameras with low processing. You know, it's just the way it is. You guys are talking about Phil's bird photography now. I do look forward to the day when stacked full-frame sensors come in affordable cameras. Z8 is the closest so far, but I'm more of a Z6 price range guy. I got no room to talk. Oh, that's a good point, though. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, let's talk about the video. Martin brought this up earlier, and a good point here is, matter of fact, how long has this stream been up? I don't remember. Oh, here we go. I can check here. All right, now I know. I started it right at 8. Okay, I was going to make sure I had a timestamp. I wanted to run about an hour and then give you guys some time off this evening because y'all will stick around till I quit streaming. But for the video specs, I don't really care too much about video personally. I know some people do, but Nikon already has, really good video spec cameras. So I would like for them to lean into the still side with this camera so that they can actually do really well in still photography with it. Sure, give it 4K 30p, and maybe 1080 120 or something like that so people can shoot some B-roll or some simple video with it or something. But if you make it a real hybrid camera where it does 8K 30 and all that garbage, then you're going to have to sacrifice a lot of camera-centric development to make sure all that video tech crams in. And honestly, there's not that many videographers that are looking for a retro-style camera. They're looking for cameras that have plenty of buttons that they can map to do things. Everybody that I've seen shoots video likes... They really like the mirrorless designs, but they like Sony's because of the customizability, where they can map basically every button on the camera to do something custom. The Z8 probably makes an excellent video camera. I don't know yet because I haven't seen any reports about it, but people are shooting video with the Z6 and the Z7 and Z6 II and Z7 II with great results. There's several Canon cameras, the R6 and the R5, and I'm sure some people are using R3s to shoot video, but they're having great performance out of it. I don't know what Phil films his vlogs on currently. He's only got about 30 cameras. Hassan, the ZF will not be starting a vintage trend in mirrorless. And you know why? Because they've already got the Zfc, the XT family of cameras, the XH family. Well, the XH aren't really retro. I'll back up on that. But the XT30, XT20, the XE family in Fujifilm's lineup, the Qs by Leica, they're mirrorless. They're fixed lens, but they're mirrorless cameras. So Nikon's kind of late to the party. But I do like where you're going with this. I like where your head's at, Fixed 8mm fisheye lens. What am I? Yeah, really good. I think the ZF would be a really cool camera for you, Dave. Perfect. Well, thanks, Phil. Yeah, I'm kind of excited about it a little bit. I really am, especially if they do some retro lenses. I would really like to see a retro 50mm. Otherwise, to to use a quote from the movie Avatar, if you can't make a deal, it's going to be old stick. Legit vintage lenses. And I'll probably do this, you know. This is the 24-28. There's a 50mm 1.4 back there. You know, I got a bunch of nickel glass. There's a 28-28 right there. I'll just get out. I would like to get one of those round FTZs, or because I think they'll still drive the aperture control. I don't remember. Isn't that how that works? Maybe. I don't remember. But maybe it has to be the coated lenses. It's been a long time since I've adapted a Nikon lens through the FTZ. But yeah, I'll probably just use a bunch of these. But I would get a couple of them retro lenses that are the Z glass, because that Z glass is nice. He's still using your DJI Pocket 2. I'm right there with you. This is the original Osmo. And I noticed they just come out with a Gen 4. And I'm still using the Gen 1. This thing still works shockingly good. It's way better than GoPro. I'll just say it. I had a bunch of GoPros. I speak from experience. The Osmo works better. Way better. And this is the old one. Yeah. That's funny that you're still using the Pocket 2. That's cool. Canon Nikon would really push it forward to more people. Yeah. I think if Canon come out with a retro camera too, and it started a little bit of an arms race between Nikon and Canon, then you would start to see stronger adoption. I think you would start to see more interest from the buying public, and you would start to actually see it become more mainstream, for lack of a better term. I really think that would work. But yeah, let's see here. I'm just checking over my notes. Just give me a second here. Yeah, there's another thing I would like to see about this camera would be that it have, I don't know, most likely the ZFC had a plastic case and they did the chrome over plastic, to where the XT3 actually had brass parts on the body. And if it wore through the finish, you would start to show brass, kind of like a Leica. And I would like to see the metal used on the top plate to where it would do brassing. And if they made it a brass, that would be like truly epic. But even if they couldn't do that and they could only do like anodized aluminum, it would just be a nice touch to have the metallic case. Yeah, to summarize it up on my notes here, it says a stabilized, full frame, low light monster. That's what I'm looking for. But yeah, I just think that they will bring most of that to the table. And I think Phil's right. The Z6 II sensor, that 24 megapixel sensor, is probably the one they're going to use. I don't really expect them to put a real high megapixel sensor in it. They might put the 47, but it would greatly surprise me if they did. I really wouldn't expect that. I'm looking for 24 megapixels, and I'm looking for IBIS. And, if they can put the BSI, backside illuminated version in there, then that would be even better. But the sensor out of the Z6 II would be what I would expect to see. I'm just reading through the comments. Okay. Now, what I'd like to know now is, how long after the announcement will it be before you can actually get your hands on one? That's going to be the next key, because they've been known to do product announcements and then not ship product for months and months and months and months. But what kind of specs, as far as my list here goes, do you think that they can do without? You know, because like I said, I've got 8 primary things listed here. I've got IBIS, 24 megapixel, full frame, tilt and screen, weather resistant, EVF, high res EVF actually, shutterless like the Z9, a common battery like the other mid range Z cameras use and the DSLRs of days gone by, and a few retro style primes. Of that, their last retro camera used a flagship, didn't it? Let me see. We'll just pull that up and take a quick look. There's a spec sheet right here, tech specs. The DF used a 16.2 megapixel sensor. Had a 3.2 inch monitor on the back of it. Used the EL14A rechargeable battery. See, and that battery was unique to the DF, if I remember right. And that was one of its downfalls. It used SD storage, and from the way it looks, it only has 1 card slot. I don't see where it says how many cards it had. 1. It had 1 SD card slot. As far as that goes, I did have that on here too, but 1 or 2 card slots to me, I don't do weddings. So if I was shooting weddings or something I couldn't reshoot, you know, one-time possible events, graduations or something, I'd have 2 card slot cameras, but it wouldn't be one. I wouldn't shoot events with this camera. I'd have a Z9 or whatever, and I would have, you know, a pro camera, and it would have multiple cards to where, or I would be, you know, like doing like Ray, uploading immediately to the cloud or something like that, where you got backups. And so if it just had 1 card slot and it had a CF Express or whatever that most hot rod CF card is, you know, if it had that, I'd be happy. Would I prefer it to be SD? Yeah, I would like to see, was it UHS2, the one with the extra contacts? Well, that's what I keep in the SL2 now. These, it's got the extra, if I get my face out of the way, those kind of got the double set of contacts on it. Yeah, if it took them cards, just one of them, I'd be happy. But yeah, because card tech's got so good, I don't ever hear of anybody talking about a SD card failure anymore. I haven't heard it in ages from anybody. So yeah, multiple card slots isn't a thing that I'm worried about. What would be cool, and Leica did it in one of their cameras, their TL2 and TL had it, would be to have a fixed amount of internal storage. Memory chips have gotten so small now, there's no reason that there couldn't be some internal storage in the camera, so that if you forget your SD card, say you left it in the computer where you were downloading them and you grabbed it and went to go take photos, it could have some internal storage, and you could just like copy it over to the SD in the menu, or you could USB-C download it straight into the computer, or even Wi-Fi it, whatever. But at this point, it wouldn't be a big deal to have 16 or 32 gig in the camera just as a kind of an emergency backup. That would be kind of nice, you know. And even like say you do have an SD card slot and it fills up, overflows, and defaults to the internal memory so that it could light up red or maybe even blue or something, where you can tell like all the display information changes color so you know that you're running on the internal memory and you're about out of memory. You know, they could do that and it wouldn't be hard. It would be really easy. If you guys haven't done it yet, Phil makes a good point. Hit the thumbs up and leave me a comment. Comments make a huge difference for some reason with the algorithm. And YouTube will share this video far and wide. And if y'all will share it, it'll help even more. But I'm not going to push for that. Ray says, internal storage for slower cameras I think is okay. But with the higher speed writing, I don't know if they could match the speed and handle the heat. Yeah, for a camera like this, you know, you could throttle it at, you know, seriously, 15 frames a second could be high mode, to where medium would be like 8, and then single or slow speed be 3 or 5 maybe, and it would be fine. You know, these SD cards here ride at ludicrous speeds, and they're not very expensive. So I understand what you're saying about heating too, because heat does kill semiconductors over time. But yeah, as long as you, like I said, you limit the video to a certain reasonable amount, or maybe you just cut off the internal memory to anything but stills, you know, and then it fills the buffer, and it has the right to the memory to where you could limit the rate at which it fills the memory up. What? Hmm? Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I'm getting instructions for later, y'all. You can leave that door open if you're done with the TV. The TV is right through that wall, so this door helps keep that noise down. Teresa said good night, everybody. The comments is about to be exploded with good night, Teresa. Good night, Teresa. Good night. Ray says he got a hot card warning at 85-degree days outside shooting at 15 frames a second. That's interesting. I have never seen that before. Then again, I haven't been in the hot sun with a high-speed camera shooting at high rates that would require it. That's interesting to know. I didn't have any idea. Ray says I need a shotgun mic pointed at the door for the off-camera guests. Yeah. Internal storage, okay. Yep, more LEMs, need 64 gigabyte in camera. Yeah. Let's see here. Phil said one slot is plenty. Hassan says, blasphemous Phil to the rack. At least all the YouTubers say so. Except 2. The Nikon DF is no exception. Let's see here. Like our flagship D4, the 16.2 megapixel FX format image sensor is paired with the XP3. Oh, he's copied it from the website. Okay. Wow. Yeah, it had the flagship sensor. Probably because they had a surplus of them. They've been known to repurpose stuff, but I would say that they probably won't put the Z9 sensor in it. That's why I'm figuring it'll be like Phil said, and I was thinking earlier, is it'll be the 24 megapixel. And I really wanted to have IBIS. I don't know how many times I got to say that, but yeah, that's a good point. Aaron, hey. Aaron says, I have a question. Why are you not using your wireless mic? Because it's in this little bag, and I didn't think to hook it up. Oh, that's just a USB cable. I didn't think to hook it up to the computer. Yeah, I was going to. And then I got distracted. And then I just came in and set the stream up because this mic's working. But yeah, these little wireless mics work shockingly well. Like, to the point that I'm a convert. I like wireless mics now. Up till then, this was my audio equipment. A lav mic into this little Zoom F2 personal recorder. But yeah, I got the video. It came out Saturday, but yeah, these work shockingly well. And I should be using them. You're right. Maybe the next stream I will, because the power, the runtime on them is stupid long. I don't know why I didn't. That's a good point. Yeah. I should have had it. Then I could get rid of this whole mech in front of me. Because it does sound good. Hey, I learned this. I don't know if the Rhodes do it. And I don't know if they failed to send me both magnets or not. You see that little round thing? This is something I didn't talk about much in the video. if at all. That round thing is a magnet. There's also a rare earth magnet embedded in the clip itself. See that? So what that allows you to do is put it somewhere, and you just got this little black dot, and you can hide it. And it allows you to put it on the lapel of a jacket. They show it on their website. That's how I noticed it. I didn't even realize it to start with, because it's so clean. It looks like it's just part of the little bump. But yeah, you can you can get these rare earth magnets in silver. You can paint it different colors. But yeah, they showed it on their website on the lapel of like a suit jacket, like a blazer, sports coat, and they had it hid behind the lapel fold of the blazer. I thought, that's ingenious. But yeah, that's pretty smart. The moment you take them out of the case, they turn on. But yeah, only one mic has the magnet. The other one's missing. I don't know if I lost it or if they failed to send it or if it only comes with one. I just don't know. But Roger's here. KG4WBI. Thank you for stepping in, Trey. Maybe I can use the wireless mic for sideband on a POTA outing. I will be able to once I get that SBitX version 2 radio, because it has USB inputs that you can pipe crap into it, because it's a Linux computer and it will let me do that. I will absolutely be able to use this mic with that radio. It would take building a circuit, basically make a sound card to pop it in through if you wanted to do it on an older radio. But yeah, that SBitX will let you. It's got USB ports. You just plug it in. That's what I found out. That's what these little USB-C adapters are for. It actually, let's see. Get it right here. You can actually put this thing on there. Well, if I can do it right. Yeah. And it allows you to do this, and then you can snap it into your smartphone, and it's like a mic that your smartphone will read. That's what that's for. And then it's actually pass through, I guess, so you can power it, maybe. But yeah, that's ingenious. That allows you to feed it into it's not a Lightning, it's a standard USB smartphone, so it would be an Android. But yeah, they show them plugging it into a smartphone, as well as like an iPad or something like that, a Surface Pro, I guess. But yeah, this one has the magnet in here, but it don't have the little back panel magnet. I don't know, I may have lost it and didn't realize it. That's pretty cool. Somebody left a comment. I see how it gave me a notification. Thank you. Aaron says David's next video, he will be bedazzled with audio gear. Yeah, I'm actually enjoying these. I mean, they do all sorts of crap. Just watch the video. I only do like 4 tests with it, and I wrote a blog post, and in the blog post, I do like this mad minute of specs that are really notable things it'll do. There's a whole paragraph where I just go spec, because it's just like it's full of Easter eggs. It's literally filled with Easter eggs. But yeah, man, I didn't believe everybody I know was on here at one time. Dude, this is pretty cool. I had a CF Express card go super hot in the Z6. No reason. Still works. That's Gary Arbuckle. Interesting. I haven't owned a camera that used a CF card in quite some time. Phil Thatch says the iPhone will have USB-C pretty soon. I hope anyway. It will in Europe. I don't know if the US market will get it or not. It would make sense for them to use a common connector across all continents just to simplify manufacture, though. So, yeah, if they do get forced into that USB-C plug in Europe, they'll probably do it here, too. You're probably right. If I had to guess, they'll probably sell it as an upgraded model for a while to try and, cash in on the early adopters. But, yeah. Still have my iPhone 11 waiting for USB-C. That's Hassan. I caved. I got the 14, I guess it is, so whatever that one is. This is a new one. It's got a terabyte of memory. A terabyte. A terabyte? For real? In my phone. Yeah. A terabyte. It blew my mind. That's a lot of memory. So I don't run out of memory. I guess you can get smaller ones, but I always max out the memory because I learned after the first couple, I got the lowest grade ones and I kept having to run into problems with memory. So I started maxing out the memory and that eliminated most of my problems. Okay, I've got all the... I've been checking the comments, make sure I didn't miss a question. Do you guys have any questions? That's a good point. I didn't ask for questions. Do y'all have questions? I mean, Aaron had a good question. Why wasn't I using my new mics? That's a really good one. I don't have a good answer for that. I was going to tell you about, I got a couple of upcoming videos. There's going to be another installment for the pilgrimage in England. That one's coming up. I've got, Hassan has been gracious enough to loan me his 90mm f2.8 and his 65mm f2, isn't it, Hassan? Hassan says my wife needs 2 terabytes. Woo! She takes more phone pictures than anyone I know. My wife does too, and every one of them is taken. I'm making fun of Teresa at this point. She gets her camera and she puts it up, and she goes every time. It's like, you don't have to thump the camera with your thumb. Just touch it. I don't know how any of her pictures are not blurry. It's like, man, she gets by. It works for her. I don't know how, but it does. Let's see. Phil says, I changed the setting in my phone. It now deletes text after 30 days. Storage problem solved. I did that too. I keep them for like a month, I think it is. You know, whatever. There's like a standard time period. If you turn that on, it does the auto delete. Yeah, I turned it on too. I got to noticing it was keeping text conversations for years, and it's like, I don't never read them, so just delete them. If the NSA's got a copy anyway in Utah. Ray has a good question. When's the next photo walk? Yeah, that's a real good question, Ray. Because we want to like wait 2 years between like meetups for some reason. And Ray's trying to fix that where we meet up more often. This Tuesday, I will be in downtown shooting in the afternoon and into the early evening, somewhere like that time frame. Probably start around lunch and shoot till at least dark. I'm just going to wander around downtown for a bunch of hours is my plan. Mainly shooting Hassan's 65mm and getting video footage, and maybe even go ahead and get the photos with the 90, and then I can record the dialogue later. But you know, then I can get these back to Hassan as quickly as possible before I get them dirty. Yeah, no, that's a really good question, but we need to talk about that in our group. Let's see. Let me think about this for a minute. Oh, look, we're at an hour. That went quicker than I thought. A lot quicker. Let's see. Yeah, I went through everything on here. Yeah, it's done. Okay. That's like 9 hours if lunch is at noontime. Yeah, about that. Probably till 5 or 6, honestly. Maybe till 7. Maybe. Thank you, Phil. It has been fun. It's kind of cool to get all of the OG streamers in and a few of the new ones. Yes, Aaron, I agree. That will happen ASAP. Where is here, Terry? Okay, Terry, thank you for asking. here is Chattanooga, Tennessee. I live like about 20 miles southwest of Chattanooga in a little town in Georgia called Trenton. Phil and Ray live up in the northern kind of parts of Chattanooga, out in maybe even suburbs. I'm not sure how you measure that. We're all about the same distance from downtown, so we kind of meet in downtown and shoot. I've actually never been to Ray or Phil's house, actually, come to think of it. But we've talked enough. Chattanooga area. And let's see. There's a couple others. Ron Durant lives up y'all's way somewhere. And then I met another guy just the other day from Signal Mountain. He's going to link up with me Tuesday if his schedule works out. And then there's a boy that I met. He's young. He was a staff writer for a magazine, staff photographer. Irwin Davis. Yeah, he lives in Chattanooga somewhere. Let me think if I know anybody else, and I think that's about it. Yeah, that I know. There's a bunch more I don't know. Phil knows like everybody. And Ray knows where all the sporting events are. But yeah. Young Harris here. Where's that at? What state's that in? But yeah, that was pretty cool. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sign off, guys, and hop off the phone because it is 9 o'clock and I got to work tomorrow. Much as fun as that sounds like. Kind of is, but still got to get up early and do it. But yeah, this has been a wonderful. My sister is in Saudi Daisy. Ah, Georgia. Okay. Nice. Northeast Georgia. Okay. Let's see. That's over towards South Carolina then. Yeah. And what's sad about Northeast Georgia is there is no road from Northwest Georgia to Northeast Georgia. You got to go to Atlanta. So to literally cover like 100 miles takes like 5 hours. Later, Hassan. Thank you again. I really appreciate it. But this has been wonderful, guys. I've had a wonderful time. So if y'all have any thoughts about the ZF concept as we've been discussing, leave them in the comments. I'll get back to you and answer the comments. You know, if you're watching this stream afterwards and you got questions, throw them in the comments. Like I said, I'm pretty good at answering all the comments that come through. You know, and until next time, get your camera out and go take a picture with it. All right? We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye. Gotta find the end stream button. Here we go.